Hi guys, Ken Smith. This is going to be part 5 in our video series of our interview with Texas Park and Wildlife fisheries biologist Todd Driscoll. Today Todd's going to talk about something that I've always been really fascinated about, and I got a ton of questions when we posted the video about a month ago with questions you guys wanted me to ask Todd. And the questions were, what happens to release fish? Do they go back where they caught? Do they stay where they were released? Just what's out there. So Todd summarizes for us today a number of studies that he has reviewed to show us or to tell us what those studies have revealed to him as far as what those fish do. So I think you're really going to enjoy this. The next video behind this one, I'm going to get it up in just the next couple of days. I'm going to try to get a couple of the Todd Driscoll videos up this week. So stick around. If you don't subscribe, please do. Below, if you've not seen the first 4 of these videos, there is a playlist on my YouTube channel that you can go and watch the first 4, so this one will make a little bit more sense to you who Todd is and how we arrived at sitting down and talking together. So here's Todd talking about what happens to our tournament fish when we bring them in, and do they go home or do they stay right there? Here we go.
All right, so let's jump back in with Todd Driscoll, talking about what you saw in your summary of the studies of release fish.
Right, yeah, I took a good look at the scientific literature and found 12 really good studies looking at tournament released fish. What do they do? What's their behavior? Do they stay by the release cove? Do they move? It's kind of a mixed bag. In general, what they found was about 40% of the bass within a 2 or 3 month period on average ended up going elsewhere. But a lot of it's common sense, right? If the release cove or the general part of the lake the fish are released in, if it's got good habitat, good structure, ample forage, a lot of those fish just may find a new home right there. In terms of what's somewhat fascinating is what I'd call, homing behavior. We're probably all familiar with salmon and their life history. And
Exactly what I was thinking about, yeah.
Those studies have shown that around a third of the fish will get back to where they were caught if that displacement was less than 6 miles as a crow flies.
Okay.
Beyond 6 miles, it gets less and less frequent, but a study did find a bass, I don't recall how long it took it to get back there, but it made it back 13 miles from its displacement point. So fish can and will, some of them anyway, will go back to where they were caught. Some don't.
When y'all do the study on Toledo Bend, will you put those transmitters in and release those fish where they were caught?
Yes, to prevent any bias.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let me just look at my notes here and see if there was any other interesting tidbits. As tournament stress increases on fish, it's just going to put them in poor condition, and they're liable to move even less too. You get, I think that's another good segue to kind of talk about. There's two different focuses here. You can look at individual fish, or you can look at population level impacts. Just like here at Ranger, talking about fish release, fish displacement, things of that nature. Back in, and me and my crew were really proud of this study back in the mid-2000s, 2005 or 6 time frame. When I first got here, the biggest thing on my hit list was to document the impact of tournaments on the bass population of Sam Raven. It was just an obvious thing to do. Easy to say, hard to accomplish. But we ended up having 50-some or so inland fishery staff members down here for a week, and we tagged 6,000 bass all over the lake and monitored that tagged fish population over the course of that year. And what we found was that tournament anglers in 1 year's time only transport 5% of the fish of legal size in 1 year to a weigh. Only 5%. I point that out for numerous reasons, but one, to get back to this displacement deal. Yes, those individual fish are displaced. And yes, there's fish concentration at times around tournament release sites. However, it's a very small segment of the population. So,
yeah,
folks complain that fish up north, let's face it, most of the tournaments at Rayburn are still down here at Humphrey Pavilion. No, not all the bass are being caught and hauled down here. only 5% of the fish lake-wide are caught and transported. The vast majority of, in fact, during that study, only 30% of the bass of legal size were caught, period, no matter what was done.
Of the 6,000 that had originally been tagged.
Right, and of course, the theory behind that is that tag population exactly mirrors the overall population. There's absolutely no reason it wouldn't have.
Wow.
Only 30% were caught in a year.
So once a fish reaches maturity on Ranger, say 14 inches, is that maturity?
Sexual maturity, say 10 inches.
Okay.
Yeah,
So their survival rate goes up greatly from then on, yes?
yes.
What's the life expectancy of a fish on Ranger?
Maximum life expectancy, like live to old age and die of natural causes, probably, 12 to 14, I would say. There's obviously, just like humans, there's exceptions to the rule. But I'd say, a wider range on that, probably 10 to 14, somewhere in there.
But when you're harvesting 30% of them, it starts chewing up your mind. I'm
Now-
a life insurance guy.
Now,
I
that
get mortality,
30%,
yeah.
that's not harvested, that was
No,
just
I'm just
caught.
thinking out
Oh,
loud
yeah,
from
yeah,
your
the
earlier-
harvest rate.
Yeah, yeah.
But keep in mind the difference, though. Harvest rate is far different than the variable that we call exploitation.
Okay.
Exploitation is that percent of the bass population killed by anglers. Whether it's hook and cook mortality, whether it's tournament-related mortality, whether it's catch and release or hooking mortality. That's what exploitation is. Harvest rate is far different. Harvest rate is, hey, Ken goes out and catches 10 fish. What's he do with those 10 fish? You understand the
Yep,
distinction?
yep.
So that percentage we talked about at Toledo Bend, that's not exploitation. We don't know what exploitation is at Toledo Bend. I would venture to say it's higher than it is at Sam Rayburn. That study we did showed exploitation to be, I believe it was 6%. 6% of the bass population. Or no, excuse me, it was 9%.
So say that to me in layman's terms.
9% of the largemouth bass population of legal size is killed by anglers on average every year.
So you got a catch rate, but then you got a,
Yeah, there's difference between catch and harvest rates
Absolutely.
versus proportional harvest of the entire
I've got a
population.
big catch rate. The only fish I kill are by accident,
Right,
other than crappie. I'm gonna eat some
right,
crappie.
right.
Speaking of which, and it's in fish care, but I know the answer. Is there a fix for a deep hook fish? Is there anything I can do for a deep hook fish?
Well, the best thing to do is try to get access to the barb. Oftentimes, it's already going to be accessible, like hook through a gill filament and out. I keep a real heavy pair of wire cutters. I mean, a pair of cutters that can cut the biggest 7/0 monster flipping hook in two like
A
that.
long way off.
You just cut it right below the barb, and then you back the hook out and do no more harm.
What I
You
have,
back a hook out with that barb, we all know the damage. I mean, it just increases the damage probably 50-fold over what the initial hook penetration did, just due to the nature of the barb.
Sure. I actually carry a pair of hemostats. And if I can, especially on a better fish, I can get a hold of that barb, cut the line and pull it out the
Right,
first way.
yeah,
It
you
comes
can do
out
that too.
so easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta go in through the gills very carefully, but I can get them out that way.
Right. You got to somehow get access to that barb. Well, years ago, the hook quality was pretty poor, and hooks would rust out fairly quick. Well, with the quality of hooks we have now, that they don't. You need to do all you can to try to get the hook out. You really do.
So you just said my next question, you answered it. If a hook stays in a fish, you've killed that fish.
Oftentimes, yeah. There's a good many times you're just going to alter the feeding behavior primarily.
Talk about soft plastics getting thrown in the lake.
It's just, it should be obvious to anybody, I guess, in my opinion. It's just no different throwing trash out in the highway ditch. And, fish routinely see those plastics on the bottom and feed on them. It was a huge deal at Lake Amistad, that super clear water. It was unbelievable. Randy Myers, district fisheries biologist there at Amistad, did some research into that. I don't recall what the incident rate was of adult bass that had plastic in their stomach. It was way, way higher than I ever thought it would be.
And that's gotta be,
And that's partly due to setting the hook and just losing your plastic. That happens quite frequently. It's also certainly due to folks chunking plastics in the lake.
and I'll be honest, and it's, if you go back through my videos, one of my viewers chewed me up and he's right. I took off and I meant to throw it on the floor and it went in the lake. And you will not see me do that on camera again, because man, because I'm not a believer in it. And I have caught fish that are obviously hurting, that have something sticking out of their throat, and it'd be usually it's a big worm.
And we've all seen it, right? Historically, I've done a lot of scuba diving out here at Rayburn. I mean, the plastics absorb water. Heck, they'll get, 4 or 5 times larger.
Yeah.
Same thing inside a fish. I mean, after it eats it, I mean, it can't expel it. Very rarely can it regurgitate it. So it's just not only there, but expands as well, causes more problems.
So our point there is nothing else. Don't throw your fishing line. Don't, it drives me crazy. Just throw your fishing line in the lake.
No, that's horrible.
And don't throw your soft plastics.
Yeah.
Or your hooks. I guess small fish would pick up a hook too.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's segue, and we may take a break right here, but let's talk about fish care.